All right, good morning, everyone. wxninjaa, thanks for stopping by. Big story still is Dorian just sat here all night and just, as you can see, just kind of wobbling around. That eye is not as well defined. The land is having a bit of effect on it. Weakened it some, but boy, not enough. So here it sits over the Bahamas still, just churning, just tearing that place up, unfortunately. Not something we want to see, but that's what's going on right now. You're going to see some devastating photos here in the next couple of days coming out of this whole area. Well, that's going to be horrible. So let's take a look at 155 mile an hour winds. Pressure's up to 922 millibars and still moving west at 1 mile per hour. So just a very, very slow moving storm. It's now a Cat 4, not a Cat 5 anymore. But still very, very powerful. As you can see, they still have the pretty much the same forecast track. They're not really moving this thing west. I don't know why, as it has moved west. I mean, I know it's slowly, but from when I first saw this, it was over here. So we'll see what happens. We're still waiting. We're still waiting for this thing to get caught up in the flow. There's high pressure system over here. There's a little bit of a upper level disturbance here. So that has winds going down to the southeast. The high with the retrograding. On the backside of the high, the flow's coming around like this. So they're, they're thinking it's going to catch up into this. But we have this right here, this little upper level disturbance. This wind's pushing southeast. Basically, this hurricane needs to find the hole between the winds right here pushing southeast and the high retrograding and having the winds come around the backside from the out of the east and then wrap around back off to the northeast. So that will be the steering current. Hopefully it doesn't get cut off and just hang out there. Let's see, here's a better picture of the winds that I'm talking about. But right now, there's upper level disturbance here now. So they're hoping Dorian will get caught in this right here, and the upper level disturbance, the winds from it coming out of the northwest, blowing to the southeast, will not push this thing and just keep it here and then allow it to come into Florida. That's not what you want. I want to show you a couple other things. Here's a storm surge forecast. This storm surge warning was issued. It has been up for a while now, but 4 to 7 feet. 7 feet of water, I mean, that's going to do some damage if it gets into these areas. Like I said, I've been up in the Jacksonville area a little bit. It's pretty low lying. I know that about this area, so it doesn't take much water down here to get some problems. Obviously, with the beach erosion, last thing you need, 2 to 4 feet down here by Fort Lauderdale. So we'll see how that pans out. And then this is should most likely arrival times and probability. So as you can see, very slow movement, and then it starts to pick up. Sometime after about Wednesday in the morning, maybe mid-afternoon, maybe it'll start picking up and get out of there. That's when they're thinking it's going to get entrained in that flow. Down here, the backside of the high, has enough to influence this storm. And then the storm is basically just going to get caught up even more the further as we go and just eject out of here. This probability is tropical storm force winds. So as you can see, I mean, even along the coastline here in Florida, you got some areas of 90%. So that's, wind and rain, and you get the wave action, and, you can get some flooding. This rainfall forecast is going up a little bit. Last night we didn't see these yellows and oranges on shore, but now we are up into Wilmington even. Parts of, we'll see what happens up in Virginia as well. But you can see, it's 3 to 5 inches. So you get that along with the storm surge of 7 feet. Well, 3 to 7 feet. So you get a 3-foot storm surge, a couple inches of rain. It's not going to be good for this area. So we'll hope that doesn't happen. Here's another view we like to look at. check out this station. 37. Just like to see what kind of winds the station's getting. 36. Again, who knows if that's still going. Not much going on here in Florida yet. I will hope it stays that way. There was a 22-mile-an-hour wind, sustained wind out of the north. So we'll see. Like I said, it's definitely not as well defined, but it's just sitting in there, just churning, and most of it is over the water. So we'll see. Here's the satellite view of it, which just went down for some reason. I don't know what happened to this page. I'll refresh it. So here's kind of the overall view of, you got the Gulf, and then you got Dorian, and then you got one there, and one there, and then a wave coming off. And we'll talk about this in a minute, but this just kind of gives you the overall flow of what's going on. As you can see, this, it's just kind of dissipating, but here's where the high pressure is, and they're hoping it's going to just influence. You can see right here, things are in the upper levels. They're shearing off to the northeast, and they're hoping Dorian will get caught up in all this, do the same thing. We'll see what happens. So here's what I was talking about with the different disturbances. So if you live in the Gulf of Mexico, keep an eye out. This isn't going to be anything like Dorian, but this could 40% chance of cyclone formation in 48 hours. So this could turn into something. Probably mostly a rain producer, not a lot of wind, but down in the south, it doesn't take a lot of rain before it starts to flood. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. This one's, 30%. Not much is probably going to happen. Doesn't have a well-defined surface center. So we'll see what happens with it. But this one has gone up. 80% chance of cyclone formation 48 hours. This is going to be the next big hurricane in the Atlantic, is my guess. Not like I'm really going out on a limb there, but where it's going to go, again, if you have a high pressure system here and a little bit of upper level low here, but another high pressure system here, the high here in the central U.S. is probably just going to slowly move across. So this is going to be moving this way at the same time. Probably going to have another situation like you have with Dorian, depending. This thing stays, at 20 degrees north right here along this line. It stays low. It'll either go to Central America or come up into the Gulf and, the Caribbean and all that. Last thing we need is for it to go right here again and just add injury to insult over there in the Bahamas. So there it is. And you can just see how this animation is a little weird. This website's been having issues. So I apologize for that. But again, you can see these outer bands are starting to hit Florida. They were doing that a little last night. Now they're getting a little more organized. But you can just see it's, hasn't gotten a ton closer. It's only moving at 1 mile per hour. So overnight, I think my last update was about 5 hours ago. So it's moved 5 miles. But still, that's 5 miles closer to Florida. So that's the last thing you want to see. Now, I want to zoom out a little bit here. Wait for the radar to catch up and just kind of look at the overall picture here. Of the hurricane. You can see you got some other disturbances up here that are they're going to get intertwined into the hurricane. It's going to pull them in and throw them over at Florida. Another thing too is, as this comes up, it's going to come in here. Even if it's so there's a couple different things that could happen. It could just turn and go out, staying off the coast and not affecting these coastal towns too bad. Number two, it could make a landfall in here into Miami. Well, that's not very likely. but it is possible. Or Southern Carolina, come right in by Charleston. The third one, which could be a little worse, is if this where is it? I'm on that, sorry. If this eye right here stays offshore, that allowed the storm to keep its strength and just right up the coast, that could be really bad, because it would allow it to keep its strength and it would just hammer all the way along the coast. I don't know why it says I'm over here in Florida, but I'm definitely not. But anyways, that'd be the worst case scenario, because it allows it to keep its strength. And yeah, that's not what you want. Man, oh, that's why. That's where the radar site is. Well, shoot, next time we'll get one over here. But yeah, just a powerful hurricane. So stay safe, everyone. I have a bunch of information in my description as far as evacuations and ways you can help and all that stuff for Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas. So just read that information. Take a look. Click on the links. Got an app for FEMA. You can download the FEMA app. That way, if you're away from your TV or power goes out, that kind of thing. Excuse me. Long night watching this hurricane, but different things like that to help you, different resources to help you guys out. If you're anywhere in this area, get out of the way. Don't mess around with this thing. It's still, even though it looks a little bit ragged, I mean, it's still a powerful hurricane. Still got 55 mile an hour winds. That's very, very fast, very, very powerful. Get out of the way of this thing. I mean, it's big, and it's churning there. It's another thing to note is it's still a lot of action on that eastern side. So we'll see what happens. Just watching that loop and looking at that, and that's a lot of info, or a lot of yeah. I see this website's going down. That's a lot of stuff. A lot more moisture to come. So, all right, everyone. Well, stay safe out there. wxninjaa, appreciate you guys stopping by. Remember, if you want to get updates as soon as I post a video, so you can have easier access to information as what's going on, just subscribe, click the bell icon, and every time I make a video, you will get notified via email. All right, stay safe. I'll be back with you here probably in a couple hours. Take care.